For over 2 millennia, philosophers treated beauty as an objective property of the physical world. Under this formalist view, an object possessing the correct geometric symmetry and mathematical proportion was beautiful by its very nature. Modern neuroaesthetics offers a different interpretation. Contemporary science often models aesthetic pleasure as a byproduct of internal reward pathways, an affective response generated within the observer. Both frameworks face significant explanatory gaps. Objective standards fail to account for the vast diversity of cross-cultural tastes, while purely subjective models cannot explain why abstract, non-representational art consistently evokes similar physiological patterns in trained observers. Continuity theory resolves this by treating beauty as a phenomenon that exists in the relationship between the object and the mind. Aesthetics is an interactive, emergent organizational event. It occurs when the structures of the external world resonate with the cognitive structures of the observer. This interaction is called organizational resonance. It describes the moment an external stimuli structure successfully maps to the observer's internal cognitive architecture. This process operates as a high-level meta-perception. Rather than detecting a single property like color or sound, it evaluates how well these different structural layers belong together. Framing aesthetics as a mechanical resonance between two organized systems allows us to move from qualitative descriptions towards a quantitative science of perception. Beauty emerges when the observer's internal organization possesses the complexity required to participate in the world's external organization. The evaluation process is largely automatic. Fractions of a second before a conscious judgment forms, the nervous system completes a complex chain of bottom-up processing. In the visual pipeline, this starts with raw extraction. Photons hitting the retina are instantly translated into edges, contrast boundaries, and basic geometric patterns. The visual cortices then integrate these fragmented features, stitching raw geometry into recognizable objects and scenes. Recognized patterns are immediately compared against stored information in the hippocampus, checking the input against everything the observer has previously encountered. The limbic system then attaches an affective weight to the data, tagging the pattern with an emotional response based on memory and biological utility. The signal finally reaches conscious awareness, where the observer assigns meaning and develops a subjective interpretation. Even complex aesthetic judgments are constrained by the efficiency of this bottom-up neural integration pipeline. The brain kinematics model provides the framework for understanding why certain patterns produce pleasure, while others cause distress. Chaotic or threatening inputs create severe cognitive prediction errors. These stimuli result in network desynchronization. This severe fragmentation triggers defensive biological responses, producing the unpleasant feeling we associate with ugliness. Conversely, highly repetitive patterns cause understimulation. The lack of novelty leads to a drop in neural engagement, manifesting as boredom. Intermediate complexity allows the brain to reach large-scale synchronization, minimizing neural strain while maximizing information flow. The brain rewards this high-efficiency synchronization with the affective pleasure we recognize as beauty. In this sense, beauty is the conscious experience of organized continuity. While the biological response is the baseline, aesthetic continuity expands across multiple organizational layers simultaneously. The universal biological layer includes evolved preferences for moderate symmetry, coherent patterns, and recognizable facial proportions, features shared by nearly all humans. The cultural layer represents the brain's learned ability to value organizational principles taught by a civilization. European traditions often emphasize spatial perspective and anatomical proportion to achieve harmony. In contrast, Islamic art focuses on infinite geometric order, while Japanese aesthetics prioritize asymmetry and impermanence. The personal layer adds another dimension, where autobiographical memory and immediate emotional states alter how an individual resonates with a specific work. Subjective taste represents the brain's trained capacity to recognize structural, cultural, and personal dimensions of organization. Higher organizational layers are accessible only through deep artistic or technical expertise. A novice perceives surface color and recognizable forms, but an expert detects compositional balance, spatial rhythm, and the technical execution of the pigment. The physical object remains identical for both viewers. However, the expert's internal cognitive architecture allows for a multi-layered resonance that the novice cannot access. Aesthetic development involves a literal expansion of dimensional awareness, enabling the observer to recognize increasingly complex forms of coherence. We can quantify this multi-layered resonance through the Beauty Perception Index, or BPI. This formula treats aesthetic response as a computable function of several interacting variables. The variable R represents the objective organizational properties of the artwork, such as its symmetry and information entropy. C and H represent the viewer's cultural background and their familiarity with specific historical styles. M and E track the observer's personal meaning and immediate emotional state. The function generates a complex, multidimensional profile of perception, moving beyond simple scalar ratings to show how these variables interact. Aesthetic preference operates as a computable matrix of interacting cognitive and physical properties. Building on the BPI, the Aesthetic Continuity Index, or ACI, provides a measure of perceptual depth. The ACI measures how many organizational layers are simultaneously integrated during the experience, rather than the intensity of the emotion felt. In high ACI states, the brain integrates structural, emotional, symbolic, and cultural axes concurrently. A high ACI value indicates maximum multidimensional cognitive integration across all measured axes. Aesthetic mastery is the mechanical ability to maintain cognitive continuity across the maximum number of organizational dimensions. This framework provides a new engineering path for the development of artificial intelligence. Current AI mimics learned stylistic preferences on a surface level. It cannot yet calculate the underlying structural and cognitive resonance that defines human aesthetics. Future systems must be engineered to estimate multidimensional organizational coherence to truly evaluate the value of an artwork. By treating aesthetics as a science of organized perception, we transform beauty from an abstract mystery into a rigorous, measurable reality.